Alright, it's your boy Pella. I wanted to check back in. We're in 2023. And so I wanted to go back to the Greeks again. We just checked out Homer. And he was saying how cold we was, dope we was in medicine. Now let's go to Plato. Laws of Plato, written like between 300 and 400 BC. Because we're going to go to the source. Because Europe said they used the Greeks to come out their dark ages. So we're going to see what the Greeks said. This is a Greek, Plato. But they're also, the original Greeks came from Africa, but these are the Greeks that they saying started everything. So that's Plato. So let's see what he says, right? Because they saying, from reading this, and this is how them with Columbus were able to come out their dark ages in 1492 by conquering us and then making it to America. They read this stuff that reminded them of who they was, right? So let's see what it says. So Plato says, we start right here. One should declare that the free man must learn as much as the whole mob of children in Africa, Egypt, right? Kemet, learns along with their reading lessons by harmonizing the play with use of numerical necessities. They help their students in ordering of army camps, marches, military campaigns, their households, and in general make them both more useful to themselves and more alert human beings. Dispelling a certain ridiculous and shameful ignorance which exists by nature in all human beings as regards to all these subjects. Hold on one sec, I just wanna, okay, these subjects, right? I too was utterly amazed to find what our nature is in respect to these matters. It seems to me it was one that belonged not to humanity, but to the offsprings of pigs. I was ashamed not only for myself, but for all Greeks. Laws of Plato, by Plato book, written in 356 BC maybe, section 819, page 211. So let's break this down. So this is what they saying they read to help bring them out of the dark ages. So he's saying, one should declare that free men must learn as much as the whole mob of children in Egypt learn as with their reading lessons. So that's interesting from African American standpoint, because we were told that we couldn't read or write, and we have a very hard time. But here you have a European dude from ancient times, 300, 400 BC, said, "Hey, we should learn as much as the people in Africa with their reading lessons by harmonizing the play of use of numerical necessities. They help their students in ordering army camps, marches, military campaigns, their households, and in general make them both useful to themselves and more alert human beings." So he's saying, hey, these Africans, these so-called black people, these Moors, they are very organized. And they're so organized that they're more useful to themselves and more alert human beings. Then he says, dispelling a certain ridiculous and shameful ignorance which exists by nature in all human beings as regards to all these subjects. So he's like, hey, they on point, right? They got this stuff tight. And then he said, I too was utterly amazed to find what our situation is. Now, when he said our situation, he's talking about, because Europe didn't exist right now. So he's talking about where they stay at in what they call Greece, which is really Iona, I-O-N-A, right? And so he said that, remember, there's no Europe at this time, reality. He says, I too was utterly amazed. Now he's talking about Europe compared to Egypt and Africa. Africa, dark-skinned black people, right? I too was utterly amazed to find what our situation is in respects to these matters. It seems to me that so he said, hey, I was amazed at our situation. Whose situation? The people, the Greeks, the so-called European situation, right? To find our situation isn't to these matters. It seems to me that it was one that belonged not to humanity, but to the offsprings of pigs. I was ashamed not only for myself, but for all Greeks. Plato, book 4. So imagine him saying, hey, in Africa, they are learning, they're reading, they're organizing, making army camps, marches, military. This is all 300, 400 BC. Their households in order, and they are more useful and alert human beings. But we compare that to what we're doing. It seems to me that us Greeks are dealing with Europe. It was one that what we had belonged to not to humanity, but to the offsprings of pigs. And I am ashamed not only for myself, but for all Greeks. So if he's a Greek philosopher, right? They're saying Plato's a Greek philosopher. But he's saying to you, oh, but man, Africa and Egypt, they got it going on. And compared to what we doing, it's like we doing some offspring of the pigs type stuff. And I'm ashamed to say that. And so when you think about your schools getting closed, they tell you have a hard time learning. Look, Plato he just told you. Let's put them out of terms. The black people in Egypt learn along with their reading lessons by harmonizing, playing use, as I said. Compared to what we were doing, so-called, white people, it was like we were preparing pigs. And I'm ashamed for myself and Greeks. And so how is he a Greek philosopher bringing all this knowledge, but he's saying, hey, I'm ashamed as a Greek from what they doing to compare to what we're doing. We'll show you that the philosophy did not start in Greece. It started in Africa, right? So this your boy Pella. And also just wanted to just show you one. We're gonna talk about more of this a bit. Like I said, your boy Pella. Like I said, we want to hear what the Greeks had to say. You clearly hear them say Africa is where the place to be at. So this is what. So if you're coming out your dark ages and then you trying to enslave us, I don't think you're really following what the Greeks said. The Greeks said, follow the Africans. It said, one should declare that free men must learn as much as the whole mob of children in Egypt, Africa. Okay? It's your boy Pella. Like I said, go get Plato. Book, page 211. And we'll talk later on. Love y'all. Shimon Hotep.